Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm doing a video on Mass Effect 3 multiplayer in 2025. I played this game way back when it originally came out in 2012, and I've played it on and off throughout the years. I thought it would be fun to do a 2025 review video to see how well the game has aged. I'm going to be talking about how accessible the multiplayer is, the gameplay, the classes and abilities, general difficulty, user interface, and more. So stick around till the end of the video to get all the info, and if you like the content, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks. I'm playing on the PC, which means there is no native support for the Xbox controller I'm using. However, someone has taken it upon themselves to fix this issue. They've added a mod which allows you to use controllers when playing the multiplayer of the 2012 version of this game. I provided a link in the description below in case you want to use that mod, and although I've got no issue using keyboard and mouse for games, I learned this game on a controller and I'm not switching now. The original game had 6 base classes, and within each of those classes there are several variations. These variations are unlocked with credits as you complete multiplayer matches. The unlocks are random, so unfortunately if you're a new player and you're targeting a specific character, it may take a while as you have a large pool of potential characters you haven't unlocked. Like with any game, there are certain characters within the classes which significantly outperform others, but if you're playing at lower difficulties, this doesn't really matter. When you go into the class abilities, you can see that you have points which allow you to allot towards different powers, and based on how you build your character, you can have some different play styles. If you're unsure of what to select, you can likely find different builds online. Mass Effect 3 is a horde-style player versus environment or PvE experience where you and up to 3 other players work together across several rounds defeating opponents and completing objectives. The gameplay difficulties are broken down as bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. If you're new or returning to Mass Effect, I recommend Silver and Gold to get the feel of the game. I've had decent luck with finding Silver difficulty games on the PC, and even though I play at odd times, the most I've waited was 5 minutes. Gold match times are a little slower, and I haven't tested Platinum, mostly because I think I'll get wrecked, but I imagine those might be slower as well. The typical length of the game is usually indicated by the difficulty. A silver game will last around 15 to 20 minutes for a group of 4 decently skilled players. Gold is usually upwards of 30 minutes, and platinum even beyond that. So I'm playing as a human adept, which uses biotic powers, basically a mage where you're primarily relying on your power abilities, which are warp, singularity, and shockwave. You want to try to set up biotic explosions, which are a result of using 2 of your powers in succession. So for example, if you have an initiator such as singularity and a detonator, which can be warp, there are different combinations you can do, so it's fun to just try them out. Additionally, you can take advantage of other players' initiators and detonate them, and vice versa. For high-level gameplay, you want teams' abilities to complement each other so you can achieve a group synergy. Most of the time, you will be fairly squishy, so you want to take advantage of cover and try to use your abilities from a distance. You can direct your powers around corners and over walls to some degree if you locked on to an enemy and then you pan your camera away. The power will curve around an obstacle, similar to that curving bullets movie, Wanted. You don't really want to use too many weapons as they apply a weight penalty to your character, which will reduce the rate at which your powers cool down. So if you have a lot of heavy weapons, you'll find that you're waiting a long time before your powers are ready to use again. For this round, I was playing on gold and basically getting wrecked. Eventually, I started doing better once I started utilizing cover more and keeping my distance. Luckily, I had a really good group which were on point with their revives and damage and pretty much carried me. So, big thanks to those guys. On combos, although played this game for quite a bit of time, I completely forgot which combos detonate which abilities, but it slowly comes back to you. For long range, I was throwing out singularities and then detonating them with warp, and for close range, I was using warp and shockwave. As for tips on the enemies are the Reapers, so just a couple things to be aware of. The Brutes will charge in a straight line like a bull, so don't be in that line. The Bugs can snipe you basically with rockets from across the map, and don't be in melee range of a Banshee for too long. For some of the objectives, if you're comfortable with it, you can lead the Banshees away from your teammates completing the objectives. This can help keep an objective area from getting swarmed. And one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that there are 4 unique consumable items which can be used during the match and are shown usually in the bottom left of the screen. These are refilled as you purchase new packs from the store using in-game credits. Going clockwise from the top, they are the Cobra Missile, Armor Boost, Metagel, and Ammo Pack. You don't want to spam these as they run out fairly quickly, but as you play the game, you get a feel for when to use each. For example, if you're surrounded by enemies and you're defending an objective, a Cobra Missile can be used to wipe out high-level mobs, such as multiple Banshees. So next we have the Infiltrator, which is like a hunter. You're relying both on weapons and your power abilities. One common way to play this class is to take advantage of your invisibility and pair it with the sniper weapon. And then you go into invisibility, and then when you shoot, you pop out of it and your shot damage is increased. The invisibility is one of the most versatile abilities in the game as it can be used defensively or offensively. For example, you can turn invisible and reposition yourself, revive a teammate, or quickly run to an objective. While the invisibility is very friendly to newer players, you may want to carefully choose your weapon, as if you're bad with headshots, you may find yourself not doing a lot of damage. This can be more of a solo class, meaning that it doesn't synergize with other classes unless you are taking advantage of the tech powers of the Infiltrator. For example, I have Cryoblast power, which would be called a tech power and can combo with other tech powers, for example, fire abilities. So for this round, I was playing on silver, which can be pretty challenging if you just have a few teammates. Initially, it was just me and another guy, and eventually 2 others joined, and then it became a little too easy. Currently, my setup is the N7 Valiant, which is a 3-round sniper rifle. Typically, the weapons with the N7 designation are high-quality weapons, which usually deal good damage. I like using this weapon because it's forgiving in case I miss, which I do, but I still get to take advantage of the damage boost from invisibility. I'm fighting the Geth on the map Firebase London, and they're probably the easiest of the 4 enemy groups. If you're trying to get headshots like me, you want to note that these guys have their heads tucked in a little. Also, when you run into the yellow flamer units, you can shoot their canister, which will trigger them to explode sometime later. You want to watch out for the little guys that drop these grenades, as they can drop it over a pretty large area that you can't roll away from. And lastly, we have the soldier, which is similar to a warrior. You will be primarily relying on weapons, but you still have the abilities which can synergize with other classes. Your primary abilities are Adrenaline Rush and Concussive Shot, the latter of which will send enemies flying and can be used to follow up on a teammate's Cryoblast. I would consider this a new player-friendly class as it's not very complicated. You just need to point and shoot. Also, the Adrenaline Rush ability, similar to the invisibility power of the Infiltrator, has several uses. You can use it defensively to boost your shields and reduce damage, or you can use it to increase your damage output for stronger enemies. For larger groups of enemies, you have frag grenades, which can be replenished from ammo boxes at several locations on each map. Certain classes rely on grenades, so you may find yourself fighting for grenades if you choose to allot your points into that ability. So that's something to keep in mind. For this round, I was playing on silver with the Sam Awesome group from the previous map, and we were doing Firebase Giant against the Reapers. This variation of the map has a hazard, which is a modifier that adds something spicy to the map, but I forgot what the actual hazard was, so I guess it wasn't that dangerous. For setup, I'm using the Cerberus Harrier, which is an assault rifle, along with a sidearm. The Harrier is a fun, close to mid-range weapon. It has a decent amount of scatter, so it doesn't work great in long range. It's also a bit of an ammo black hole, hence the sidearm. My playstyle for this round was to rely on Adrenaline Rush and get at close range with the Harrier and frag grenades. I actually thought I was doing low damage, but then in the end it turned out to be okay. So lastly, I just wanted to comment on the UI and the controls. I think they're pretty simple and straightforward. Uh, the Mass Effect controls feel pretty snappy, even though it's been 13 years since this game originally came out, the 2012 edition. The motion is fairly fluid. You can get in and out of cover, sprint, use different abilities without really having to fight the game. I was surprised that the game felt so engaging, even though it's an older game. If somebody had handed you this game, it doesn't feel like an older game. It feels like a very modern game because it's still very fast-paced, very intense, and very exciting. So having said all that, I think Mass Effect 3 multiplayer is definitely still good in 2025, and I think this game is worth checking out. If you never played it originally, and even if you did play it, I think it's worth returning to because people are still playing it and it's still a lot of fun. So that was the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps this small channel grow. And if you've got ideas for videos or games you'd like to see, leave them in the comment section below. Thanks.